Hello everyone, Miss Gretchen with Rubies and Moonstones here. Thank you so much for joining me for WIP and Chat number 16. If you're new to my channel, I hope that you would like it here and consider subscribing for more diamond painting content. And if you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for continuing to support myself and my channel. I wouldn't be here without you, so thank you so very much. As I said, this is WIP and Chat number 16. WIP stands for Work in Progress, and this is my current work in progress, and this is Astronomer by Miles Pinckney and Diamond Art Club. And as I talk, you are welcome to pull out your own diamond painting and work alongside me, or whatever craft or activity you may be working on, or you can listen to me chat in more of a podcast type format, whatever works best for you. So as I work on this today, I will be using Miranda's Crafty Corner putty in my multi-placers, and this is apple cider scented. Oh, it smells so good. You have no idea unless you have it, but it is really good. I will most likely be using a combination of pins between my 12, 8, and 4 multi-placers. I've got a lot of color blocking to do in this section, so I'll use my 12 as much as I can. And then in my single placers, I have glue dots. These are everlasting tips, and this one is a single placer tip from Diamond Art Club. But the everlasting tips are my favorite. And then I will most likely be working out of this tray. I really like this small but wide size of it. This is the Switch Mini Max from Firefly, and I won't flip it over since I have drills in it, but yeah, this is what I'm going to work out of. And so yeah, yay, I'm working on Astronomer, woohoo! I'll talk about that in a second, and yeah, I'm going to zoom you in over here. So let's go ahead and get you zoomed in, get my light pad turned on, and we will get started. Before I can lay any drills, though, I do have to do a lot of picking because this is one of the colors that I got in this kit that is just awful. It's number 939, the dark blue. It's pretty bad in a lot of kits that I get, but I really do, blue is my favorite color, and I really do like kits that have a lot of blues in them, and so therefore you're going to get a lot of these dark blue colors and things like that, and a lot of trash, which is, I guess it's just part of it. But when it's this bad, it makes it hard and frustrating, especially since this is one of the most heavily used colors. This one, 823 and 3371, are going to be the most heavily used colors. So, but I am super excited actually. Because I was having so many problems with my drills, I did hang this up for a while and just kind of lost my mojo for it due to the frustrations of that. And I've been working on so many other canvases because I started this back in January. There was a paint along for this canvas, and so I started it back then, and then as soon as I started, I realized that I had all these really bad drills. I contacted Diamond Art Club, and they sent me replacement drills, which is great, but the replacement drills are not any better than the ones that I originally got with the kit, and somehow, I don't know how, but this dark blue color, 823 and 939, they're just very slightly different shades. You know, they often go right next to each other. And so I was using the replacement drills, and then I did a whole huge section of it. And then I realized that they were the exact same shade. The baggies were definitely marked as the corresponding different colors, but just because of different dye lots and things like that, they came out to be the exact same shade, and I cannot tell a difference. I need to pull out my spares and see what all of those match so I can put it with it, but so I've been having to use the original drills that they sent me because otherwise there would be no shading in this sky area or anything like that, and I need to have some shading in here. So so I know that it's been a while. Oops, I just see a spot that I missed. And I apologize for taking so long to record an update, and I don't know what to tell you. I guess life just gets busy with work and kids, of course, but I'm disappointed that it's been a couple of weeks here since I posted a WIP and Chat, especially since it is almost Halloween, and I was starting to tell you all of my ghost stories, and I feel like I have so much to update you on because I've been working on a lot of different projects during this time, and I want to tell you about all of those projects, but I also really want to share some more of my ghost stories with you while it's Halloween. It's currently October 28th, and so I'm just really hoping that I can buckle down and get this edited so that I can get it posted before Halloween and kind of have a fun ghosty story Halloween episode to share with you. So I am not going to share all of my catching up, this is what I have been doing videos. Oh, this one is so sticky. Or share all of that catching up information in this video, but I will do that in my next video because I just know that once I get started with these stories, with all of them that I have to tell, that it might be a little while before I actually, it's going to take me a while to tell all of these ghost stories, and I don't want to have to break it up between, you know, a couple of different episodes if I can help it. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through all of them, but we shall see. So, sorry, I just like to go try and get all of the spots that I need my 12 placer for first, and then I go back through with a smaller sized one that I just have a bit more control over. I mean, I can place just 2 drills with my 12 placer, and I do that every once in a while, but I just feel like I have more control over my 4 and 8 placers, so if I can use them, I will. I'm more likely to use my 8 placer to place all the different drill numbers, you know, all the way down to 2, but the 12 and the 10 are just a bit more difficult for me to do that with. So I come in and I try and get all of the different spots where I can fit a large amount from my multi-placer and get all those done, and then come back through with a slightly smaller size. So that's what I'm doing by going and I'm measuring to see what will fit in each section if I need my 12 placer, if I can use a smaller one. And I'm better at eyeballing and guessing which multi-placer I'm going to need with a smaller size. I'm getting better at it with the 12 placer, but I'm pretty quick about it with the 8. So I'm definitely more comfortable with the 8. So I'm trying to tell stories in order of how they occurred so that I don't get lost and I don't repeat multiple or all of the same stories to you guys. And so I know that I told you about the story from the house I grew up in and my grandma and grandpa's house, and what I think was a connection with grandpa and stuff like that. So I pretty much have gone through my young childhood. you know, through my high school years and all of that. So that puts me into when I moved off to college and all of the different places I lived there. And of course, I don't know, I moved into a different house pretty much every single year in college. I did not stay in the same place more than once. So I lived in a lot of different places. So I'm gonna have to kind of think through all of this. So let's see, the first year I was in the dorms and I don't recall anything happening there. I have a lot of other stories that go along with college that are not ghost related. Okay, then hold on, let me think through this just a second. I mean, at different times, at a lot of different places, I have a lot of those types of situations where, you know, I was just living by myself or at least alone at that point in time, and something happened to make me feel like I was not alone or being watched type of thing. But those are not really, you know, I've got no evidence for that. Maybe I was just creeped out for whatever reason, you know, just a psychological thing. As I've told you previously, I always try to debunk my own stories. You know, if something happens, I try and look into it and see, like, okay, what could have caused that? And if there is anything that is a logical reason why that happened, then I will not count it as one of my ghost stories. So, like, those types of things I'm not going to count. But I am going to tell you a story about something that happened in the first apartment that I lived in on my own. So it was, you know, just a one-bedroom apartment, and the grandma that I told you about, who I would always watch ghost stories with and things like that. And I told her that I thought that when I saw the plate move, that it was just Grandpa because I wasn't afraid, and she told me it was. So that grandma, she lived a good while. And like I said, we used to always watch ghost stories together and talk about how cool it would be to communicate. We never came up like with a plan to communicate with each other or anything like that, but we definitely had a love for that, or an interest in all of that together. So she passes away, and, you know, I go home for the funeral and do all of those types of things, and then I came back to my one-bedroom apartment after all of that was all done. And I don't know, it probably wasn't on, I mean, it feels like it was the first day back, but I'm not 100% positive. But I had a cat at the time. I know I mentioned my cat before. It's the only cat that I've ever had as a pet. And it's funny, when I shared the story about my cat with you guys before, I said something about how, like, you know, I don't know, I'm just not a cat person. And I had a cat, and, you know, I didn't know anything about how to train a cat. And a bunch of you laughed and said, it's because you can't train cats. I think maybe that's why I'm not a cat person, because, yeah, you can't train cats. They're too independent, and I need a dog that's going to listen to me, I guess. So this guy, I named him Mercutio, and then we'd call him Momo for short. And so anyways, so I'm sitting just watching TV with my cat. And actually, I mean, I don't even notice that my cat's there. I'm just watching my TV, and I'm kind of zoned out, just thinking about everything that had transpired. And I have these Venetian blinds, you know, the kind that there's a bunch of like 4-inch sections that hang from the top of the window in front of the balcony. And you can turn them so that they're open or turn them so that they're all closed, flat up against each other. And I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. But anyways, that's the type of blinds that I had in front of the door to our patio, my patio, because I lived there with a cat. Anyway, so I'm sitting there and I see a big section of them just suddenly move, like something hit them. And there's like 6 of them that quite vigorously swing back and forth. And, you know, I look around and the heater hadn't kicked on. You know, there was no air movement that I could identify that could have caused it. And so my first thought was, oh, it had to be the cat, right? I've got a cat. It was the cat. Well, then I look and my cat is literally sitting right next to me on the couch, and he is looking at the blinds too, with kind of he's very into the blinds, just staring at them. And that freaked me out. I got so freaked out that I packed up my stuff, left, called a friend, and I didn't come back that night, I don't think. After the fact, I thought about it and was like, you know what? I bet that was Grandma coming to connect with me, thinking, oh, how cool is this? I can finally connect with her like we used to watch these ghost stories on TV all the time. Like I can connect with her and show her that I'm okay and I'm on the other side and everything's cool. I just, you know, need to go show her. She'll think this is so cool. And then I freaked out. She had to just be like, Gretchen, come on. This was supposed to be cool. Like, why are you freaking out? It's just me. But, so sorry, Grandma. I freaked out. I would love to have another connection someday, but we'll see if and when that were to occur. So that's my first little one. Nothing else ever happened there, and so it's just kind of how those blinds moved, and that my grandma, who I had always watched these stories with, had just passed away, and that the cat was staring at them too. Just all of those things combined. I couldn't think of anything logical that would have set them off to move on their own. So that one goes into my list of stories. And I forgot to kind of say, I mean, I did mention at the beginning that I would be talking about ghost stories, but these may get progressively more scary. So if you are someone who is not into that, or don't want to be scared tonight, to me, I don't know. One of them I do think is a lot more scary than the other ones, but we all have a different tolerance level for that. So if you don't want to hear things like this, just fair warning that maybe this is not the episode for you. I'd also meant to tell you guys that, like, this is not ghost story related, but you know, I just posted my third quarter review, which, oh my gosh, it took me forever to get that recorded and then edited. It took so long to get edited, and yeah, I guess life is just busy. Anyway, sorry that it took me so long to get that up, but hey, I got it up. And so when I did that, I, of course, pulled this out, this Astronomer diamond painting, and was just like, I think I started talking about this and then got distracted. I don't know. I pulled out the Astronomer diamond painting and was just like, man, why? I hate that I have been working on this since January for that paint along, and I haven't finished it. And I really wanted to finish it before the end of the year, and you know, there's always something else that I want to work on, especially with the holidays and everything, that I just get distracted and I work on something else. And I was at the halfway point to complete this. And I finished another painting and I was just trying to decide what to do next. And it was this one or a different one, obviously, that I was going to work on. And decided, you know what, I am just going to pull this down. At first I thought, I'll just do a row and see how it goes. And if it goes okay, then I will, I'll just keep working on it. I'll get it done. And that's kind of what happened. You know, it's going all right and I really want to get it done. So I am just, I've made the final decision that I am going to finish this. It is going to get done. And so, yeah, I'm finishing it. I have about, after I finish this row, I have about 2 rows left. And then I'll finally get this done. Right now it's almost 10 entire months later. So maybe by the time I get it done, it will have been, you know, 11 months, but better late than never. And then it's at least done. It's a WIP that I no longer have half finished, and then I won't have any like half finished ones hanging up anymore, and that'll be a good feeling. And it's so cool as it comes together. I'm loving the colors. I'm loving the enhancement packs. I did get the enhancement from DP with Sparklers, and that is super cool. There's so many things that I love about it. It's just the bad drills that I don't like. But next story, I've got to pick through these again. So I'm just going to cut out me picking through the drills because I don't know. As I'm sitting here picking through the drills, though, I just thought about how last month or whenever it was, last time that I recorded a WIP and Chat, I was working on a kit from Francesca'sStudioWorks, and I also did a post review on that. It was Conversation by Olga and Alexei Drozdov, and it was an amazing kit, you guys, and the drills were really good. I was very, very impressed with it. Well, I got an email from the company just to let you know, and they have decided that they are no longer going to sell diamond paintings. They're apparently still going to sell like blank canvases and drills and be a company that does that, but they're no longer going to sell diamond paintings. So they have put everything at huge discounted rates. So right now would be a really good time to go to their website and purchase a diamond painting or two because everything is incredibly discounted. I mean, heck, I wish I would have waited to get the one I've always wanted until now because it's obviously a lot cheaper than when I initially bought it. But how was I to know? And I was just hoping that they would come out with more diamond paintings. I'm still tempted to get a few from them, but you know, trying to be wise with my money. So anyways, just wanted to let you know, I will have a link to their website in my description box, but I'm pretty sure it's Francesca'sStudioWorks.com. Just simple, and that's it. But I highly recommend them. I'm personally very sad that they are no longer going to be selling diamond paintings, but yeah, go over and check them out and see if there's something that you are interested in. So the next one that I can think of, I moved houses again. I moved in with a couple of people, and again at this house, I had a friend who slept in the basement, and he said he would hear some weird things, but besides just kind of some uncomfortable feelings there, nothing really significant ever happened. So the coolest thing was one morning we woke up and we had a backyard that was like a block deep and it turned into a bunch of woods. And we were in the middle of a city. It's literally a city. And there was just a deer in the backyard. So we're sitting there having like our morning coffee or whatever, and there's a deer in our backyard. It was so cool to see a deer literally in the middle of this city, just hanging out in our backyard. Not something that I would have expected. So, I mean, I grew up in the country. You see deer all the time. It's not a big deal. Seeing them just pop out like that in the middle of a place with so much traffic, it was crazy. So obviously that's not a ghost story, just a tidbit. But the most significant thing that happened while I was living at that house was I started dating a guy. His name was Phil, and he obviously had a separate house, and he had just moved to this town that I was living in. And he always wanted to hang out at his house, so I just always went over there. And he was really excited about that house. And I remember staying there, and so there was a night that he wasn't there. He went back to his hometown, and I had gotten into an argument with one of my roommates, and I just didn't want to be there. And so he said that I could go stay at his house. You know, like I said, he wasn't there, but I was welcome to stay there, and so I did. And I remember waking up in the morning, and again, I had that feeling of being watched. And I would open my eyes and I wouldn't see anything, but it was really, really strong, and I was super creeped out by it, and I can't remember. I don't think I felt anybody touch me or anything like that, but it was just an overwhelming feeling, and I was super duper uncomfortable. I kept trying to close my eyes to go back to sleep because it felt early in the morning to me. I wasn't ready to get up. But every time that I would close my eyes, I would just have this incredibly creepy, negative feeling. So as I'm editing this, I'm remembering that it wasn't just that I had an uncomfortable feeling. It was also that the door was right in front of my face, and I heard it squeaking every time that I closed my eyes. So I would open my eyes and look at the door, and the squeaking would stop. And then I would close them, and I would hear the door squeak and open my eyes, and it would stop. And I think that there was a window open too. So I tried to just push it off as, oh, the window's just open, so I'm sure the wind is just blowing, and it's kind of pushing on the door, so I'm sure it's nothing, but it was just this repetitive squeaking. Open my eyes, stop, close my eyes, it would squeak, open my eyes, it would stop, and I also had an uncomfortable feeling, but like I said, I was looking for a logical explanation, so I thought, okay, it's just the wind, and try to ignore it and move on. And so eventually I just kind of listened to it and was like, I'm not going to get any more sleep in this state, so I am going to just get up. So I got up and got ready and stuff, and was still kind of reluctant to go back over to my apartment or house and deal with my roommate drama. And so I sat down and started watching TV. And as I'm sitting there, I start hearing this tink, 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 tink sound. And what it sounded like is, when you have a fan going in the other room, and it's got that cord that comes down that you pull to turn the light on and off, or the fan on and off, it sounded like when the fan is going super duper fast and it whips the end of that cord around and it starts hitting the light. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like it was coming from the fan. And so I would look over, there was a fan in the kitchen. But when I looked over there, the fan was completely off. So it couldn't have been that. So every time that I would look over toward the fan, the noise would stop. And then I would turn back to watching TV and the sound would start going again. Tink, tink, tink. And I'd turn and look at the fan and it would stop. I'd watch TV, it'd start, I'd turn back, it would stop. So like that happened several times, and then that in combination with how I felt that morning, I was just like, okay, that's enough. I'm creeped out. I'm leaving. I don't know what's going on. Again, I don't want to just tell you things that like I've had feelings about, but I did have just this. Before I talked to my boyfriend at the time about it and stuff, before I knew anything, when we would be in the garage, I remember having this overwhelming feeling that something serious had happened in the garage, and there were these big beams in the garage, big, strong beams that were just, they weren't covered up by anything, and I just had a feeling that maybe they were used to for someone to choose to end their life. But I have no evidence of that. Again, that's just a feeling. And I have nothing to say that I would be someone who would be able to know anything like that. I'm not pretending like I'm psychic because I'm not. But it was just this like sudden feeling and idea that came into my head out of the middle of nowhere. And since I am kind of into this stuff, I've heard that those feelings and thoughts, if you're not thinking about them anyway and they just kind of come into your head, you're kind of supposed to trust them. So anyway, so I had that happen to me too. So anyways, okay, that happened before. So my boyfriend comes back and I tell him what happened when he was gone. And he said, well, I didn't want to freak you out or anything, but like, yeah, we have a ghost here. I'm just like, what? Why did you not tell me? I wouldn't have stayed here by myself if I knew that. And he's like, well, that's why I didn't want to tell you. Like, I didn't want you to be scared to come over or whatever. So I just thought it'd be better not to tell you. Yeah, you should have told me. Anyway, I mean, I guess it was good intentions, but so then he tells me that like at first they would be hanging out in their basement, and he was always trying to get the band going again, It's funny, this boyfriend and my current husband actually were in a band together when they both lived in the same town. It was a different town, but that's funny to me. My husband played the guitar and the boyfriend at the time played the drums, but they were both from a town that was close to where I grew up at, so that's, small town connections. Anyway, so he was trying to get the band together, and he'd be practicing his drums in the basement, and he had a roommate, and I can't remember if the roommate's room is downstairs or at the end of the hall upstairs or where he was located, but I feel like his room was downstairs. But anyways, so the boyfriend, he said he would be downstairs, like playing his drums or watching TV or whatever the case may be, and he would hear the door to the garage open and shut. Like it sounded like somebody had come home. And so then he would holler for his roommate, and be like, hey, did you get home? I'm down here or whatever. And nobody would respond. And, he'd go check and nobody was here. And that had happened multiple times, that he would hear the garage door, the front door, whichever door it was, open and shut, and like footsteps walking across the floor, like very clearly made the impression that somebody had come home, and yeah, nobody was there. So and then he apparently would also get really creeped out in his room, and just had really negative feelings. And I think that he had kind of similar things happen where he would wake up and just feel like he was being watched and stuff like that. And then the craziest one was that he was sitting in the upstairs TV room where I was when I heard the tinking sound, like sounded like a ceiling fan, but it wasn't. And so he was sitting up there with his roommate, and they were watching TV, and he's like talking to his roommate, and then suddenly he looks at his roommate, and his roommate is like staring off into space, shocked, dumbfounded, white as a ghost, as the saying goes. And he's like, dude, what is going on? What's the matter? And his roommate said, I just saw somebody walk out of your room and down the hall. So because there was, from where he was sitting, there was an open door to this hallway, and it was a skinny hallway, and from where they were sitting to the right was my boyfriend's room, and then there's this long hallway that would go down to the left, and there was like an office and the bathroom and I think another bedroom or something down that hall. And so he said that he saw something come out of my boyfriend's bedroom and yeah, walk down the hall, and it was apparently a full body apparition. Like it looked like an actual complete person. And as time passed, apparently whatever was going on in his bedroom when he was sleeping, like how I had felt uncomfortable, he got uncomfortable to the point where he could no longer sleep in his room, and he was sleeping on the floor in the TV room because he couldn't be in there anymore. And I don't blame him. Like I said, it made me really uncomfortable, and I just had that feeling once. He actually ended up getting really depressed, and we broke up and everything, and he was really homesick, and he ended up moving back home. So, and maybe that had more to do with our breakup than I really ever gave credit to it before, but I probably should have thought about that and how much that was impacting him, that maybe that's why he was depressed and he wasn't just homesick, and missing being somewhere where he knew everybody. Because this was the first time that he'd ever moved out of the town that he had really grown up in, so he, could go out and he'd know everybody at the bar type of thing, and he wasn't used to going out and not knowing everyone who was around. So, that was a pretty rough breakup for me. Obviously, it was a good thing in the end because I would not have wanted to stay with him anyway. But when you're young, you don't know those things. So, so that's probably the biggest one that happened in college. There's always those other random, weird, strange things that happen. But again, I don't think that I have anything that I can, nothing to write home about, nothing to share with you about. So now I've got to think about what all happened after that. Where did I live after that, and what happened at those places? I'm going to switch colors here and try and pick through all the bad ones in this one, and then we'll pick up where I left off. Ugh, this color is awful. I have so much of this color still left to place, and it is really hard to get a decent line. I just pick and pick and pick, and I still won't have it be even decently straight. It just kind of gets to that, well, I guess this is going to have to be good enough point, because you pull out the ones that are just super obviously bad and then hope that the rest of them will stay. Like, this is definitely going to be a painting that I'm going to need to seal. I want to try out a few different sealers that I have and do kind of a sealant comparison, because I've heard so many different things recommended. I bought some random things before I really started talking to people or learning enough to find out what seasoned diamond painters recommended. I really actually liked that Artdot one though. Did you watch that video? They came out with a whole sealing kit, and I was genuinely impressed with how that turned out, and I do think I want to go back and start sealing all of my paintings, especially those that are going to constantly be on display. So all of them that I put onto poster board, all of them that are hanging in my daughter's room or my son's room, you know, and just seal everything. But that's going to take a while to do. So since I waited till I have however many pieces that I have completed to decide, maybe I should have been sealing these all along. But I think I've always been under the impression that Diamond Art Club says don't seal them. And I know that, you know, their warranty voids if you seal it, but once you've laid down all the diamonds and stuff and it's completed, there's no need to really use the warranty, so it shouldn't make a difference. Plus, then the diamonds shouldn't fall off, so you wouldn't have a need to, you know, replace one in future and stuff like that. Do you seal your diamond paintings? And if so, what do you use to seal them with? I would be very curious to know what all of you use. And if you're someone who has been doing this for a long time, can you tell me, does the sealant last for a long time, or does it kind of fall off after a while? Because that would be something interesting to compare to, but that's, you know, something you have to literally give time to determine. So, okay, so I mean, I should have showed you this at the beginning, but all of these lines were pretty full, like full all the way out here, and here I see a tab. And now, as I have picked and picked, all of my lines have shortened up that much. I mean, some of these are super short lines, and there's just not very many diamonds. So I'm going to have to do that a million times. Anyway, okay, so sorry, got off on a tangent with the... And yeah, they're still not very good, but it's just going to have to be good enough. So, okay, so then the next one that I can think of to share with you is, you know, I don't know if you watch those ghost story shows where they use all of the fancy tools to try and talk to spirits and things like that, like on, you know, Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures and stuff. But my dad knows that I'm into all of this, and so he let me know that that he'd read in the local paper that they were going to be having ghost hunters come to our local museum, and you could buy tickets and go be a part of this ghost hunting tour and participate in using all of that type of equipment and kind of going on your own personal ghost hunt. And that sounded so exciting to me. And so I had my dad get tickets for us, and me and my current husband went and did that together. And something had happened to my foot. I don't remember what, but I had like a boot on my foot because I had injured it, or my ankle or something. I was walking around in a boot. I know that. So we go to the museum to do this, and there's a whole bunch of people, and there's obviously people who are super into it and some people who are totally skeptical. But I'd grown up kind of hearing different stories about the museum. I even worked there. It was my first job ever, was at this museum. But, you know, I hadn't ever seen anything. Nothing had ever happened to me. But we broke up into like 4 groups, and we were going to tour 4 different buildings and use a variety of equipment. But they didn't have enough equipment for like each group to all have what is it called? A ghost box, or you know, have all of the tools to use at the same time. Now I feel like I'm maybe not calling it the right name. If it's something else, I'll insert the correct name here. But I think it's called a ghost box, and how it works is it scans through a whole bunch of different radio frequency channels backwards. So it's like you're tuning into all of the different radio stations, and you're switching between channels as fast as you can, because you're not trying to actually tune into a radio station. You're just trying to give the spirits access to the frequencies and to use the electronic device to be able to communicate, which is pretty cool. So it's like used in every single ghost show now, if you happen to ever watch one. But so the first building that we went to is called Building 13, and it's a museum. There's all sorts of old stuff in it, right? And there had apparently been lots of stories from there. And so we had some EMF, electromagnetic field readers, with us. We of course had flashlights, and then we had one of those ghost boxes, and we were touring this building. And so how this building was set up is it had all sorts of antiques from a bunch of different eras. And so you could see what like a kitchen looked like back in the 1890s, and then what did a kitchen look like in the 1900s, and then what did it look like in 1910 and 1920, and it would go through all of those. And same with living rooms, and then there would be a room full of doctor's equipment and a room full of dental equipment. And I know there was an iron lung in the hospital area. They had some areas where there's like different work equipment. So there was a loom, there's a spinning wheel, where when I was little, there was always a lady sitting at the spinning wheel. The lady at the spinning wheel was actually the mother of the man who was managing the place at the time. So, and she had passed away by the time we did this, which was interesting. And I actually took spinning wheel lessons from her, because like I told you previously, I was always super into old stuff, and I wanted my own spinning wheel. I wanted to use a spinning wheel, but you know, I never got one on my Christmas list. Anyway, so we start walking around with that, and we go over to, I think it's the oldest kitchen that they have, and I'm not sure what the actual date is on it. But apparently the kitchen table is supposedly made out of a tree that used to be the hanging tree in a nearby town. So we go over there with the ghost box, and we start asking questions. And I actually have my own little recorder that I'm trying to record on too. Apparently we didn't have iPhones like we have now, or I would have used one of them, but I had a little recorder. And it doesn't seem that long ago that this happened, but it must have been long enough ago that obviously I didn't have a very good iPhone. Anyway, so we start asking a bunch of questions on the ghost box, and we do start getting answers. So it's flipping through the channels as fast as it can, and then you would ask a question, and then you can hear a voice coming through answering the questions, you know. So, you know, we'd ask something like, okay, is there anybody here with us right now? and it would say yes, and you could tell that it was always the same voice. It was a male's voice, and it just kind of kept talking to us. And I can't remember everything that it said or the exact series of questions, but it was really cool. And I think that we found out his name was maybe Billy or something like that. And he said that he did get, the end of his life was because of the hanging tree, and we tried to find out what he did to get sentenced to that. And he said that he stole horses or something. And we asked him if he had a family, and he said he did. So like, I don't know, like 10 or 15 minutes, we were standing there talking to this guy, and it was really cool. And apparently later on in the night, there were like 2 women who fainted in that building. So that's crazy too. And we all kind of set up camp in this, in the church that's on this museum. And so that's where all of our stuff was. And for all the people who passed out, they went to the church and everything. Anyway, so then we moved on from that, and we went to, I remember going to the place where the spinning wheel was, and the man who was the manager, whose mother passed away and used to run the spinning wheel, he happened to be with us at that time. And so again, we're asking questions through the box, and we start talking to a woman. So the voice changes to be that of a woman. And I remember him asking if her name was Shirley or something. I think her name was Shirley. And it said that it wasn't. But, so he was trying to find out if his mom was there, but yeah, it said no. I think it said his name was Ruth or something like that. And I remember telling it, this was my favorite place to come to when I was a little girl. I always loved coming and watching the spinning wheel. I think they're so pretty or something like that. And you could hear it say thank you or something like that. I'm pretty sure it said thank you. I shouldn't add the or something part when I know that's what it said. And so we talked to it, and those EMF detectors, we had them sitting on, there was a fence around the spinning wheel, and the EMF detectors kept going off as we were talking to it, and you could ask it to come closer. Can you turn it on, make the lights go on for yes, and can you make the, if the answer is no, stay away or something like that. And, come turn the lights on if that's what you meant type of questions. And it was responding in that manner. The lights would be off, and then we would ask a question and it would move, or the lights would turn on. And it's really amazing to see that happen, in real life. I would see it happen all the time on TV, but to actually get to use those types of things in real life, it was really cool. So then we end up going over to the place that has all of the medical equipment, and there, like I said, they have an iron lung there, and then they also have a lot of other stuff. And when you look at the type of medical equipment that they used back in the day, ugh. I mean, I'm glad we have modern medicine. I definitely think things could be better. But I'm also really glad that I don't live way back then, because I am very grateful for the modern medicine and technology that we currently have. Some of the tools that they used to use look like torture devices, Even the iron lung is super creepy. So anyway, so we're over by the iron lung, and we're trying to have conversations with that spirit box. It's a spirit box is what they call it. Not a ghost box, a spirit box. And I don't think we're really getting any responses out of the spirit box. Like I said, I've got my own personal recorder going on. And so then what we decide to do is we put down 2 flashlights, and you have them so they barely turn on. They're the type of flashlight where you twist it to the left or right to turn them on and off. And so you twist them so that they turn on, and then you twist it so it barely turns off. So it doesn't need a lot of pressure to turn on or off, but just a little bit. And so we set 2 flashlights down on the ground, and then establish that one of the lights is going to be used for yes, and one of the lights is going to be used for no. And sure enough, a spirit starts talking to us, and I can't remember the specifics of what this one said, but I do remember that the lights were going off in a conversational aspect again, and that was really cool. And then, you know, both lights would totally go out, and it'd be completely dark in there and stuff, and you couldn't see anything. And then I was listening very carefully. I never made it all the way through, and then of course I lost it, and we were supposed to get a CD of all of the stuff that happened too, which we did, but I kept wanting to listen to it with my husband, and then we just never did, and I lost that too. I lose everything. So I had this recording device with me, and I took my time going through it, really trying to listen very carefully for any sounds that were not there when we were in there. And I do hear one at that point in time when we're in there. And it didn't come out in completely legible words, but it was definitely a male voice. It was a really deep male voice, and I was standing next to my husband and a woman, and it definitely wasn't either of them. It was a very, very deep male voice, and it just said like a few syllables, and I couldn't figure out what it was put together. But it was something like, something weird like that. And so I don't know if it was speaking a different language, or if it wasn't just picking up the entire audio recording, or if my recording device just didn't pick up everything that he was trying to say. I don't know. But it definitely sounded like there was a man right next to my shoulder talking into that device, which I did not have like super out there or anything like that. So that building was really, really cool to investigate and to see all of that stuff happen. And I did not find it particularly scary, actually. I found it to be really, really cool. But it was also not my home. It was a place that I could go to and use these things and make these connections, and then be able to go home and go to bed in a different house and location and not have to worry about it. If this were like stuff that was happening in my actual house or something to that, like that, I think I would have a totally different feeling about everything that occurred, but you know, it wasn't. So it didn't bother me, and I wasn't freaked out or scared about it by the time we went home. It was more just a really cool experience. But that was just one building, and there were 4. So the next building we went to was the depot, and I can't remember what tools we used there, but I know we didn't have a spirit box. So I think all we had was like EMF detectors, and nothing really happened in there. Although apparently stuff had happened in there before. Like the ghost hunting team that we were there with had hunted this museum before. So they were kind of taking us to the hot spots they had picked up information from before. But yeah, I don't remember anything crazy happening in the depot. But then we did go to a third location, which was a building that was like, it was just full of all of these dishwashers. I can't remember what was on the one floor had like a whole bunch of different dishwashers from all different eras. and I think the other one had all sorts of different stoves. I mean, this museum literally has everything in it. And so we went in there and we set up some lights to try and be able to see spirits or shadows kind of walking through the lights, but I don't remember seeing anything happen there in the lights. But then we went upstairs and I remember sitting down next to my husband on this chair that they had up there, like kind of a bench, and we're just basically doing like an EVP session, and we're just talking, and you know, they're going to check the audio later to see if anything comes through, which is why I hate that I lost that CD so bad. Maybe I'll find it one of these days. I don't know. We've moved so many times since then. I really don't know. So anyway, as we're sitting there, somehow we kind of become aware that there is a little boy with us, and I cannot remember why that is. If we had a spirit box with us, I think we might have had a spirit box with us there, and that's why we thought there was a boy with us. Or maybe it was just from the previous stories that they told. I can't remember, but for whatever reason, we really thought that there was a spirit of a little boy. And as we're sitting on the bench, it gets really, really cold. And I remember my husband asking if the boy was sitting on his lap, because he said his lap had gotten really, really cold. But we didn't get a response to that question. He just told me later that, you know, he suddenly felt this sensation that there was just something there because it had gotten so unusually cold. And to me, it seemed like that's one side of me that was closest to him had also gotten very cold at the same time. So it would make sense with our two sensations together that had happened. But I don't know. I remember not wanting to leave that place. But yeah, there was, and it was a bit more melancholy feeling in there. But the last place that we were going to go through was just kind of walking through the main building, and apparently nothing much had really happened there. And by the time that our group got around to going through the main building, and I had not heard any stories about anything happening in that main building either, I was pretty much done for the day. And so, like I said, I had a boot on my foot. It was not fun to be walking around this huge museum with a boot on my foot. Oh, I forgot. We went into this other building that has farm equipment in it on the main floor, old farm equipment, of course. And then on the upper floor, there's a really old hearse. And I know we didn't have we did have a spirit box. No, we didn't have a spirit box in there. We were just listening and trying to collect EVPs and listen to, and EVP is electronic voice phenomena, so voices that you hear over your recorder, where you ask questions and try and get them to answer that you can hear on a recording, but you just don't hear it in the moment. And so we went into that building that had the hearse. And I know nothing significant actually happened in there at the time. I know that I was not feeling well. I can't remember why, but I just was suddenly not feeling very good at all. I kind of kept making this like burping noise, and they were getting annoyed because every time that you make a noise, you're supposed to announce it. That like, sorry, that was me, you know, that was me, and like everybody needs to be quiet, you know, they need to stop making noises. And it's like, I didn't want to be, every time that it happened, I didn't want to be like, sorry, I burped, you know. So I was just so embarrassed, and I don't know. But so nothing really happened in there, but I have heard a story since then. I have heard a story about a man who actually passed away in that building after it had become a museum, in a pretty tragic way. And then that somebody else, I can't remember who it is now, but went into that building and saw something that scared him so bad that he will not go back in there. So he's definitely saw something in there, but I don't know what it was. There's also stories about a little kid on swings and seeing somebody up in the top window of this building that used to be a house. It was a sod house, and every once in a while you could see someone in the window on the second level. I mean, it's a pretty short 2-story house, but still, there was a bedroom upstairs, and apparently somebody can be seen in the window up there. I think people have been seen kind of walking through the museum in general. Just all sorts of stuff has actually happened there. I can't remember. I know my dad actually saw something not that long ago. I think he saw somebody walking, but I can't remember exactly what that story was, of course, now that I'm kind of put on the spot about it. But he's super into this stuff too, though, so he always thinks it's cool and is kind of keeping his eye out and looking for stuff. And I am, well, not more than happy to see, especially like in that type of a situation where I'm expecting it and kind of looking for it. I'm ready to see stuff. Then it's not super scary to me or anything, but maybe kind of seeing something on my own out of the blue might be a little bit different. But then at the same time, when something like that has happened to me in the past, aside from that super creepy feeling at my boyfriend's house, my first instinct is just to be kind of like, okay, did I see that? What was that? What's going on? That seems strange, and then to kind of start investigating it. So it's not until really afterwards that I actually start thinking about it and then kind of get creeped out, and not necessarily in the moment. And it's probably just because so far I've been pretty lucky with the types of spirits that I've encountered to not get scared by them in that manner. And yeah, it's more of a, that was unusual, or wait. What was that? Did you see that? Did you see, just, I don't know. So that's pretty much the story about ghost hunting at that museum. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I really wanted to get to the final ghost story that I have to tell from my own personal experience, which is about the last house that we lived in. But I believe that I have been recording for at least an hour, if not longer than that now, and I need to get going for other reasons too. So that story, I guess we will have to save for another day. So I do at least have one more to share with you, and in my opinion, it is the most significant events that have actually happened to me. I know in this one, it was more like, oh, this feeling that I had, kind of stuff. So there wasn't a lot of actual events. I mean, there were a few, but I tried not to just talk about, oh, I had this feeling, I know there's not much proof in that, but I do believe that we all kind of have a sixth sense for that stuff, and that, if you're open to it, that you can notice when things change, and when there's a shift in energy, and after all, we are all supposed to be made up of just energy, and so when that time comes for all of us, then that energy kind of has to be released, and then we're where exactly does it go? And I think for everybody it may be a little bit different, and I don't know, there's all sorts of different theories on this, and ghosts and spirits, and why some stay and why some don't, and then I think it's different when it's your loved one that's coming to visit you versus someone who may be stuck here. You know, there's so much, but that's a whole philosophical discussion that, you know, I'm not necessarily going to get into on here, especially when I don't have anybody to philosophically talk back to me about all of it. So, okay, so that is going to be it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed hearing these other ghost stories, and then, yeah, the next time that I talk to you about ghost stories, I will finally share the most recent ones that happened in our previous home. And yeah, that's the biggest story to me. So saving the best ones for the end, I guess. So thanks for checking in with me and listening to my stories. And I know I didn't really have a chance to really go over with you everything that I have been up to over the last couple of weeks, and what I've been doing diamond painting wise, because I really wanted to get into my stories. And I'm glad that I did, because I seem to have really taken up the time just getting those few stories told. So next time I will try to update you on everything diamond painting related that has been going on in my life, as well as maybe some other personal things, at least to a certain extent. And then someday after that, I will get into that final big ghost story to tell you, but we'll save it for another time. But it is almost Halloween, and I wanted to share that with you. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Why is it always the coldest day of the year, or the week, at least the week, and the coldest day that it's been for your location whenever it's Halloween? Does that happen where you live? Because it happens where I live every year. Like, I just looked at the weather for the week, and the coldest day of the week, what do you know? It's Halloween night. It's not going to be that bad, but still, you look at every other day, it's like 60s, 70s, 80s, and then on Halloween, it's 50s. And then the next day, it's back into the 70s and 80s. So other years, it's been down into the 30s and 40s. So, I mean, I shouldn't complain about the 50s. But still, it's colder than it has been here so far for the fall. And will be a bit chilly, especially for the little one. But he's going to be easy to bundle up. He's going as Pascal, and my daughter is going as Rapunzel, so from the movie Tangled. Pascal is the chameleon who plays Rapunzel's best friend, so it's going to be cute, especially to have them dressed up together and take them trick-or-treating. I don't know how much we'll do, but anyway, I'm trying to end this video. I need to stop talking. It's been too long. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, would you please give it a like, as it really does help support my channel. And if you have not yet subscribed, I hope that you would like it here and consider subscribing and sticking around for more diamond painting content. I do a variety of things, and I do try to post as frequently as I can, but life does get hectic. So click that notification bell as well, so that you can be notified anytime that I do make an actual upload. And as always, if you ever have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. I love hearing from you guys, so please be sure to comment as well. So like, subscribe, comment, all those things help my channel. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful, marvelous, fabulous day. Bye-bye.